second grade at Southside Elementary, and the name of the project was Hang Tight to Our Land. It's an erosion project. These are the Common Core standards that we covered. It was develop a model to represent the shapes and kinds of lands and bodies of water in our area, compare multiple solutions, designed to slow or prevent water, wind from changing the shape of the land, and they created bar graphs to represent their data. We began by doing some flood research. We used Williamson Daily News online, News Express, and East Kentucky Broadcasting. Each night during early March, when WYNT had their Washed Away documentary, we would watch that at home. A lot of students watched that at home, and then if they didn't get to see it, we watched it in class the next day. It was about the Harlan County flooding. And we know that we've been hit really hard here with flooding in our area. We gathered pictures of recent flooding situations in our area. There's a picture across from the Belfry Middle School with the back alley there by the creek flooding, Johns Creek at their baseball field, and the Wilson Water Department, this Tug River. But not least, that's our school. Our school sits back. There's a creek that runs in front of it, and actually all this should be a road, but we couldn't get to our school. It was terrible. But the kids were really excited to see that. We also gathered pictures of various areas with large amounts of erosion. These were taken when the construction began at our school to expand our school, the digging and stuff. So they actually got to watch this happen. There's been some mudslides and things that are happening behind there now. This was behind McDonald's at South Williamson, where it's dangerous to park your car. And that was taken behind their school also. We began with creating the land model. They were adding layers of rock to create the layers of the earth down inside there. We used gravel to put those together, and those were water containers cut in half. They got to play in the dirt for a while. They got to actually construct their mountains and their valleys and things. So they just used regular potting soil to do that with. Then they were designed, the landforms were designed, and they put a lot of cool houses on. And they said, can we make houses? Can we put other things? And I thought, sure, because they're going to see what happens to their little houses when the banks are eroded out from under them. They designed the flood prevention. They thought of things like flood walls, sandbags, retaining walls, and lots of grass and vegetation. We actually grew the grass, and they brought in moss for some of their projects to help with the vegetation. And the white things with the blue on them were actually sugar inside little baggies to represent the sandbags, yes. But they got to see their houses wash away and the cars wash away, real life things. This little guy here that the arrow's pointing to, pretty sure his house got washed away in recent flooding. It was devastated. But that's them flooding their projects. We just used a regular watering can, but we measured how much water went on there each time. So, and they recorded that. They had to measure the amount of soil that was lost along with the amount of water runoff. So they are doing that. This was a messy project, but it was fun. In their notebooks, they had to write conclusions each day as to why. You know, their data showed what it did, what they thought, and thought that less runoff because of the vegetation soaking up most of it was his thought there. But they recorded each day everything that happened, how much water we put on there, and how much runoff, and how much soil loss. With our grant money, we bought 3 Chromebooks and a color printer, and our Chromebooks helped them gather the information, make charts, and create the graphs. There's a lot of technology used in that, and a lot of pre-teaching on this before we could do it. We recorded the data. They actually made the data tables that showed the days and the rain that we put on there, the runoff, and how much soil was lost. And it's great because now if you need them to make a graph, they know how to go in and do all this for other purposes. And we created bar graphs, taking that data. They now know how to make bar graphs. Still need a little help, but they're very good with it. So that shows their days of flooding, and this happens to be the runoff versus the soil loss. Sometimes we did rainfall versus the runoff, but we did different types of graphs on what it was comparing. This is a rainfall versus soil loss graph. But they had to come up with ideas of why, their conclusions of why this was happening. Because sometimes they would predict something else would happen as far as their data, and it wouldn't be that way at all. So they had to come up with why. And then finally, their design comparisons. They had to, after looking at everyone's projects and different things that were used on projects, they had to decide which one worked best to prevent the flooding, which would eventually prevent the runoff and the erosion. So they did the design comparison, which project they thought was best and why. I thought the grass was best because it sucked up the water and locked the dirt up. That was his thought. But they like growing the grass on the projects and things like that. Any questions? Okay, thank you.